The legal battle continues over whether former President Donald Trump will be kicked off of Michigan's ballot. And today it took place in Grand Rapids.
News 8's Byron Tollefson followed the hearing throughout the day and has more on what happened.
Brian and Sue, a day after the effort to remove Donald Trump from a ballot lost in another Midwest state, the movement came to Grand Rapids. The effort to keep former President Donald Trump off Michigan's ballot came to a Grand Rapids courtroom today.
The Secretary of State does not have the power that plaintiff claims.
Michigan Court of Claims Judge James Redford hearing arguments throughout the day in multiple lawsuits. Activists have sued Democrat Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to force her to keep Trump's name off the ballot. Meanwhile, Trump's attorneys have sued Benson, demanding that his name be allowed on the ballot.
This court, as well as the elected officials, have to enforce the law that is currently in existence.
In two separate suits, activists point to part of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment, preventing a person from running for federal office if they swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, but then engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. One of the plaintiffs, activist Robert Davis, argued that if Benson keeps Trump on the ballot, she wouldn't be following the Constitution.
Certainly, one cannot be upholding the federal Constitution if they permit a candidate who is otherwise ineligible under the United States Constitution. Our electorate, the Michigan voters, expect those candidates that appear on the ballot meet the qualifications for that particular office. That's the expectation.
The clause has only been used a handful of times since the Civil War. Trump's attorney, Michael Colombo, argues that keeping the Republican frontrunner off the ballot would disenfranchise voters.
Mr. Davis's interpretation is correct. It would deny voters the opportunity to vote for a candidate of their choice.
To which Davis responded,
"There is no constitutional right to run for office, and there is no constitutional right of a voter to vote for an otherwise unqualified candidate."
Colombo then argued that a Michigan presidential ballot without Trump would have a far-reaching impact in the national election.
My comment is that allowing a state secretary or other agency to disqualify a candidate from even running has an impact beyond the state. And it has an impact.
Don't disagree with that.
Activists have also filed separate suits in Colorado and Minnesota and already lost in the latter state. The Minnesota Supreme Court dismissed the lawsuit on Wednesday, something the judge today brought up to Davis.
You've had a chance to review the order from the Minnesota Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
So why do you disagree? Do you disagree or do you agree with them?
Well, the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled on Minnesota state law.
Right, which I haven't read it, but it looked an awful lot like what Michigan law is.
Benson, a Democrat, has already said that Trump will be on Michigan's primary ballot next year unless a court intervenes. She's argued that the legislature does not give her the authority to determine if a presidential candidate should be disqualified. And Michigan courts have already determined that administrative agencies like hers generally don't have the power to make decisions on constitutional questions, she says. Regardless, she says she will follow the direction of the court either way, and Redford expects to have a decision soon.